G'day, it's Jamie and welcome to Where's My Yowie. Today I'm reading an old newspaper report about a Yowie shooting near Bathurst in 1861, so we'll get into it. This was published in the Newcastle Chronicle and Hunter River District News on Saturday the 6th of April 1861, titled A Bear Hunt in Australia, from a correspondent. As it is not at all unlikely that certain of your readers may be altogether acquainted with the fact of this creature's existence in Australia, I beg to forward the following account of the pursuit and capture of an animal so called, at which I was recently present. Being on a visit at a friend's house near Bathurst, my attention was suddenly aroused by the entrance of my host's son, a lad of 15, with the intelligence that he had been on track of a native bear for the last 2 hours, and had at length succeeded in tracing it to a large gum tree in the neighbourhood, among the branches of which poor Bruin had, as he had no doubt considered, safely ensconced himself. If that be the case, observed my friends, we shall have some difficulty in fetching him down, for, turning to me and saying, would you believe it possible that these animals possess, in the amazingly thick and close texture of their fur, a protection against shot almost equal to that of a coat of mail? Somewhat surprised in the intelligence, I prepared to accompany him, and, followed by his son and a couple of staunch dogs, we set out for the scene of action. The lad having pointed out the tree, I looked up and beheld an object, although an old resident in the colony, such as I had never before seen. Its body appeared to present a singular combination of the monkey and the bear, whilst the agility and dexterity with which it shifted itself from branch to branch baffled for some time all our efforts to take aim at it. Out of courtesy, my friend permitted me to fire first, which I did, from what I considered to be about as favourable a position for purpose as it was all possible to command, but, heaven pardon me, I might just as well have fired at the moon. The shot, Swan, cut the leaves from about him in all directions, but appeared to have no effect whatever on the animal himself. He, however, as I suppose in mere compliment to the message, condescended to shift his position. My friend fired next, and having a double-barrelled piece, was enabled to repeat the experiment. Immediately on ascertaining the ill success of the first attempt, poor Bruin did, upon his latter occasion, appear to have sustained some injury, for he held up his paw in a most significant manner, and seemed in point of fact as if desirous of parleying with his pursuers. Not to tire your patience with any further details, I shall state briefly and at once that it was not until almost an incessant fusillade of more than 15 minutes that the animal at length descended. When he did so, he was, of course, instantly attacked by the dogs, whose fangs, however, appeared to make as little impression upon him as the shot. They were finally called off. We then struck him repeatedly on the head, hard enough, one would imagine, to have fractured the skull of an elephant, but the animal was still unconquered. At length we determined, if possible, to take him home alive, and my friend having, for this purpose, incautiously approached the spot, had like to have suffered for his temerity. The creature had, for the last 2 or 3 minutes, remained quiet as if stunned by the blows, but it now instantly recovered its feet and rushed wildly at its tormentor. Whether the latter might have suffered any serious injury from the assault, I am unable to say, the animal being seized almost at the same instant by the dogs, It was at length taken home and, incredible as it may appear, walked or ran the whole of the distance. We of course had some difficulty in keeping it in the right road, but our object being at length accomplished. Bruin was shut up in the yard, and I assure you that even then, after being fired at more than a dozen times, worried by the dogs, beaten with our gun stocks, and otherwise maltreated, the animal so far recovered itself in less than an hour's time as to nearly achieve its escape by running up the side of the house. It was in consequence secured by turning an empty hogshead barrel upon it, and thus it was left for the night. When unkennelled the next morning, it appeared as lively as ever, and rushed wildly about the yard in its fruitless efforts to escape. It was at length dispatched, but such was its extraordinary tenacity for life that I could not avoid pitying it. On taking off the skin, my friend being desirous, having it tanned, we saw at once that the shot had never penetrated it. There were bruised and bloody marks on the interior surface, but the penetration there was none. I may add that the creature is about 2 feet in height, that is to say, when upon all fours, but when sitting up, as it often does, considerably higher. It is utterly destitute of a tail, and its fur, for thickness, elasticity, and softness, exceeds altogether that of any other animal with which I am acquainted. When unmolested, I believe it to be perfectly harmless, but I should imagine that the grasp of its forepaws, armed as they are with sharp and crooked talons, must be anything but agreeable. It has a most beautiful and prominent eye, black and lustrous as that of the gazelle itself, and its agility, whether as sailors say, aloft or alow, is perfectly surprising. Its mode of progression, by throwing itself forward on its forefoot, resembles, as I said before, that of a baboon or monkey. The forefoot has as much of that a resemblance to the human hand, for which the latter is remarkable, and altogether I should say that the animal would be likely to form a most interesting study to the naturalist. By the by, do any of your readers know whether they exhibit anything of the kind at the Sydney Zoological Gardens? The end. Wow, that's a really amazing story, that. It's really weird, because he says he's like been an old resident of the area, and he's never seen a creature like this before. He's saying it was a combination of a monkey and a bear koala, and it was agile and dexterous, and the way it jumped from branch to branch, which sort of koalas don't do it that much, like he's saying. And then it lasted 15 minutes of being shot at. It got attacked by the dogs. Then they've struck it on the head several times with their gun butts, and it still didn't do anything to it. And then when it recovered, it's jumped straight up to its feet and wanted to attack one of them until the dogs got it again. And then they took it home, and they said it walked or ran the whole distance. And then he's saying that after they've skinned it, he's never seen a skin so thick and elastic and its softness like any other animal he's ever seen before. It's just really strange and weird. And then at the end, he's asking if any readers know of anything like that at the zoo. It's just so strange. To me, there's only a couple of possibilities this could be. Either they've caught a juvenile Yowie, or maybe a Junjidi, and then I'm going to laugh at this one, but I'm going to include it too. Or is it possibly a drop bear? Anyway, that's it from me. I'll get back to you all next time. Bye.